Hi, my dear Russell family. Today, I wanted to make a brief video about the inauguration day. I thought it might be the interest of many of you, so why not? I would appreciate if we left any type of comments, political comments, or throwing shades on each other, because of course the intention of this video is not a political discussion, but more to do with a kind of like a teaching, a short webinar about how the inauguration day might look like. So, of course, the inauguration day would talk to us about Trump taking his oath, and that is taking place on January 20th. This is always the January 20th, and it's always happening at midday. So, I'm going to be posting the chart on the screen as well, so you can actually follow it. And then, so basically, let's explore how this chart looks like. I would appreciate if you pressed like, maybe you share the video with others. And also, if you are interested in vocational or money astrology, then I'm going to be launching a 20-week course at the end of February, where we are going to be discussing a lot of things about what happens when your financial or vocational houses get activated by certain type of transits, for example. But you can see the full syllabus on my website, AstroViktor.com. And if you are interested, you can even use a paid plan as well. I think it's quite affordable. So let's get started with this inauguration chart. So as mentioned before, the sun is always going to be on the midheaven. So that's not something that I'm so kind of like, interested in because it always happens at midday. So the sun will be in conjunction to the midheaven. So, and it kind of makes sense, right? Because we've got the new king, sun, becoming very visible and taking its place in the society. And that's what actually the midheaven represents on one hand. What's very interesting, though, is that the sun is in a very tight conjunction to Pluto. And of course, Pluto moved into the sign of Aquarius already in 2023 January, then it left, it went back into the sign of Capricorn, and then now it's fully immersed in the sign of Aquarius. So on one hand, it means that the next 4 years, we will be experiencing a lot of Plutonian themes in the US and most likely in the world as well. Maybe it's because the president, the sun, is going to be focusing on Plutonian themes. So let's explore what Pluto actually represents. Well, Pluto is the planet of transformation. So what does it mean to be free? That could be a big question here for us, right? And maybe we want to get the freedom back, for example. But also, Pluto is the planet of death as well. So we want to close something down and we want to give birth to something else. I want to be able to bring change. Maybe I want to make America again powerful, for example. Or I will be very corrupt as a president. That's a possibility. Or I'm going to be doing some crimes that are against human rights, Aquarius, or I will be trying to kind of like pull the veil off of any type of corruption, for example. That could be a topic as well. Now, the sun in the sign of Aquarius is highly humanitarian. So this is kind of like maybe giving the power back to people, or simply I'm going to be taking away the power from people. Pluto really represents wealth. So this even could talk to us about that I am going to be creating wealth. I'm going to try to kind of work out the entire economy, for example, or I'm going to be destroying the economy. So, of course, as you can see, I'm talking about polarities here. And the reason why I'm talking about polarities is because Pluto is all about polarity. It's really the 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 really dirty stuff. Or the highest manifestation of that is, of course, something to do with power and wealth. I would also say there's a lot of things to kind of like discover here. Obviously, we have got the Aquarius feature here, which is quite interesting as well, because that represents anything to do with cryptocurrencies. So he might try to kind of transform that, or he's going to be making it extremely powerful. Is it going to be an easy ride for him? I don't think so, just because we've got this ongoing Pluto and Mars square. When you look at this chart, you will be actually able to see, well, it depends on what kind of like house system you use, but you will be able to see that Mars is actually on the IC. So it can actually indicate that whatever type of policies, for example, he will introduce, certain people will not be happy about that. Now, Aquarius is an air sign. So apart from the representation of technology and technological advancement, it actually can represent communities as well. So I'm trying to bring people together, or I'm going to be dividing people with some of the actions, Mars, that I take. And most likely, this is what I'm expecting to see, because, of course, we've got this ongoing Pluto Mars opposition. And you can kind of look at it as a defense versus the attack type of situation. And of course, if we just think about the recent kind of like activities that has gone down, obviously TikTok being banned and then TikTok is coming back, so this might look like that this has not finished yet, unfortunately. This might be something that is going to be an ongoing topic. Also, because Aquarius is also about the freedom of speech as well. So it could really feel like that I want everyone to talk, or I'm going to be taking away the right from people to talk. Also, Aquarius could represent communities, kind of like a segment of certain people. So it could feel like that I'm left out or I am drawn into this type of kind of new community. It's kind of like a new world order. But what's very interesting is that Pluto is always really dark. So therefore, it really kind of feels to me that, even though maybe the intentions are great, but a lot of people will be upset about certain types of kind of like maybe power struggles. And power struggle is coming up with the Pluto Mars opposition anyway. So this could talk to us about, I mean, Pluto even can represent war as well. So it looks to me that in the next 4 years, we are going to be experiencing certain type of like confrontations with others. And maybe this would be something to do with neighborhood countries. The reason why I'm thinking about the neighborhood countries is because Mars is retrograde in the third house. So, who are the neighborhood countries to US? I mean, obviously, we've got Cuba, we've got Canada. So, are there going to be anything going down, between these kind of like countries? Obviously, with Mars in Cancer, we want to defend our territory, or we are fighting for a certain type of territory. And let's not forget Greenland, which Greenland that has just popped up, obviously, recently as a topic. So I'm just not wondering if we are going to go ahead with it. Now, let's look at, I mean, we can even talk about this Pluto-Mars opposition a little bit more. And maybe I want to talk to you about that a little bit more, just because of the on the personal level as well. Also, the Pluto Sun conjunction is happening on 1 degree of Aquarius. And that is very tightly in conjunction to the Saturn Jupiter conjunction, right? Which took place in 2020 December. And it's coupled by having a Saturn and Jupiter square, ongoing square this year as well. So I kind of find it interesting. I'm sensing some confrontations in 2025. But, we've got two giant planets. I mean, Pluto is tiny, but when it comes to that mighty power, that's Pluto. Pluto and Sun is really about like a new cycle of a power. It has got a lot of purpose. Conjunction is about the creation of something, giving birth to something. So it looks like that we want to be giving birth to a new world power. Maybe there is going to be new cryptocurrencies introduced by the government, by Trump, or maybe there is going to be um, a new way of like investments, for example. And also, Pluto is the planet of power. So, Sun and Pluto could really represent dictatorial type of energies as well, by the way. So, yeah, I just want to kind of talk to you about that too. It looks like that secrets might be revealed about the president, for example. Pluto is the planet of reveal, Sun is the president. We're talking about some dirty stuff, some dark stuff. With Mars opposing, this combination could pretty much talk to us about being accused of something as well. But with Pluto and Mars, which is also influence. So I'm just wondering how the social media is going to be transforming or the life of influencers, or of course, the president would like to influence something such as cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, technological advancements. Maybe I'm going to be also, Pluto's sun could really talk to us about coupling up with really powerful people as well, especially from the technological companies, for example. Now, I can imagine something like that too. Now, on a personal level, this is talking to you about having to remove some of your fears, for example, or you're going to have to be looking at what is the limitation of your own power, what is your purpose. You're going to have to be doing a lot of digging about it. Sometimes with Pluto Mars, we've got a hidden Pluto Sun, sorry, we've got some type of hidden agenda going on as well. So that is possible. Or having Mars involved, again, which is the planet of reaction. We're reacting in a very emotional way, obviously, because it looks like that we are out of our comfort zone. Uh, and as we mentioned before, Pluto is the death. I mean, one possibility is the death of the president, for example. So that could be potentially happening. Now, whether it's the death of the identity or a physical death or the death of the kingdom, right? Which is again a sun type of archetype. But in Aquarius, I want to get liberated from something. I want to detach myself from something. I don't want to be associated with this person. And that could also be the case. So this could be about a corrupt leader, but also it could be a transformational leader who is bringing multiple changes into our life. It could be a leader who is extremely manipulative and controlling, or it could be a leader who plays a very significant role in humanitarian questions. I would also like to mention that while we have got this conjunction, we've got a last quarter moon happening. So look at what is going on here. We've got a Scorpio moon, and the modern ruler of that is Pluto. And then we've got obviously the sun in the sign of Aquarius. So the sun and moon are in confrontations. This is going to be playing out in the next 9 months, by the way. And this is a tension here. So Scorpio topics are very much about hiding, while the Aquarius energy would be about going forward. So it looks like, and of course, Scorpio is about intimacy, secrets, taboo topics. To a certain extent, it represents heaviness as well, or resistance. distance, while we have got Aquarius, which is about being detached and cool and, humanitarian and so forth. So we've got this tension going on in this chart as well. Also, maybe on a personal level, it is looking at whether you are fully committed to something. It wants you to discover your own power or who is taking the power away from you. What else do we see in this chart? Well, on top of that, well, we need to be looking at the rising sign, right? And the rising sign is actually Taurus. So this would talk to me about the economy. This would talk to us about what we want to be, like what we want to change is the economy, or what we are focusing on is money situations or the debts, even. So I want to be clearing the debts, or I'm going to be even creating more debts. And one other thing that I would like to point out, which is actually very significant, the dispositor of Taurus is Venus. And Venus has got a very exact conjunction to Saturn. And on top of that, we've got Nessus there as well. I did make a video a good 5, 6 months about the Saturn Nessus conjunction because remember, Saturn went retrograde on particularly on 18 degree or 19 degree of Pisces before. And Nessus, that was in July. And then we had Nessus going retrograde on 19 degree of Pisces as well at the very same that time. Saturn spent a whole month on 19 degree, and Nessus spent 2 months on 19 degree. And if I'm not mistaken, that was the time when it got announced that Trump is not going, not Trump, sorry. That was the time when Joe Biden kind of like resigned. So it does make me think, are they going to try to get Trump to resign? It's just a question that popped up in my head. So is there going to be certain type of attacks towards him? And don't shoot the messenger. I'm just interpreting a chart, okay? But also what we see is that obviously with Saturn, which is the crystallization, so we are trying to crystallize the economy here, but it's in the sign of Pisces. So there are some shady things going on behind. Or this is about security, Taurus and Saturn building security, building financial security, for example. And Venus is really strong in this chart. So I love it. I think the economy can get better, but maybe we are trying to do it in a way that others might not be happy about, such as other countries, for example. And then I just hate Nessus being there. Nessus is about abuse. So this could represent the abuse of power, abuse of my money, abuse of yeah, somehow the money, right? So maybe secrets will be revealed about his financial situation, actually. I can imagine something with that too. What else do we see on this chart? I mean, the other big thing that we might need to be able to look at is Moon, because Moon represents people. And Moon is in the sixth house, which might indicate that people would like him to sort out anything to do with healthcare. But this Pluto Sun conjunction and the Taurus rising sign with Uranus in it doesn't seem to be focusing on the medical industry as much. And this could even talk to us about that there are going to be certain type of health crisis situations going on. Obviously, Venus, sorry, not Venus, Moon is in the sign of Libra, so it's kind of like equal healthcare or, kind of balancing out the healthcare situations. And, as mentioned before, I see Uranus also in the first house, which kind of represents a very radical change, but also represent that we might be acting out on something. I mean, we do have got a Uranus and Mars trine going on as well, sorry, sextile going on as well. So that's a possibility. And not to mention that I'm even seeing a Mercury conjunction to Pallas Athene while it's squaring Chiron. So this could talk to us about strategy, a strategical way of thinking. But it looks like that a lot of people kind of get hurt by it because that's Chiron. Mercury is in Capricorn, so it's a structured way of thinking. Pallas Athene is the planning and the battle plan. So it looks like we've got a plan here. It's just something, it might be hurting some people, you know, and maybe it really kind of feels like that, it's a system that does not fit everyone. These are some of my thoughts on this. Oh, and by the way, Mars does have a trine to Juno as well. An exact trine on the very same day. And Juno is contractual agreements. This is basically talking to us about some underneath, or what's the word I'm looking for? Some type of not underneath, secret contractual agreements. Or we are trying to deepen our connections and relationships with people, but behind the scenes. Often it might look like that we are arguing on the surface, but behind the scenes, we actually do kind of like certain type of agreements. Or this could talk to us about that alliances that we are trying to kind of make stronger. So that's something that I also can imagine that there are some secret agreements being made. Now, of course, we're talking about an inauguration, so it's going to be lasting for about 4 years or until the moment. Obviously, if something happens, for example, and then we're going to have elections next year, then we would have a new chart, of course. And then with that Mars and Juno, it's also about being committed to a particular agreement that I had made previously before. And I would say that there are going to be extra two trines. Sorry, just one more trine between Juno and Mars. And the next one is 17th of April. So that is the time when something potentially is going to be popping up about maybe certain type of secret agreements. But I'm still not happy, even with this Mars retrograde, with a trine to Juno, just because Mars in Cancer could really indicate social, um, like restlessness. Or it could, because the Cancer is the representation of the country itself, and Mars is kind of like the knife. So it looks like that we are really kind of like dividing the country into two. And the other thing that potentially I don't like in this chart, to be frank, is that Sun and Pluto is disposed by Saturn, and it has got a conjunction to Venus, which could talk to us about whether I use the economy or the money in the proper way, or even it could represent whether, kind of like a lot of like hurdles to the power that I have got. Or do I use my team in the rightest possible way? Or did I put the right people in the right chair? Because Aquarius represents team. So that is also a big question here. But most likely, what we will see is that we will see a lot of advancements. I mean, again, the other thing that I'm wondering about, Pluto, which is the secret societies, and then it represents, uh, you know, uh, CIA and all this type of, stuff. So are they going to be hiring a lot more people like that? Now, I just made a video about Venus and Saturn conjunction, and we are going to be having two more of those. And the next two are very close to Neptune and North Node as well. And of course, with North Node, Neptune, and Pisces, we want to unify. So I'm thinking about claiming territories here. And of course, this could even talk to us about, because there's a lot of financial type of aspect going on in this chart, that I'm trying to kind of bring down the inflation, and that's very Piscean. Or, of course, the Pisces is healthcare. So maybe I try to reform the healthcare or the music industry, for example, and so on. So I can imagine something like that. But the negative manifestation of Pisces is that it's kind of chaotic, a little bit disorganized. Things are all over the place. It's kind of cloudy. Or it could even, it's kind of like the savior versus the godlike energy. So am I going to act like a god? Oh, I've saved you, so you now have to pay me back type of things. And Pisces, to a certain extent, could talk to us about migration as well. Obviously, the Saturn Venus conjunction has got a square to Jupiter, which is bringing in the question whether migration is going to get tougher, especially with neighborhood countries, because it's Gemini. So I don't know, can I visit Canada? Canada visit me, or Hawaii, or, whatever? I mean, obviously Hawaii. Anyway, don't worry about it. Okay. So that's what I'm kind of picking up on this chart. I hope it helps. How do you see this chart? And please leave behind your personal opinions. Thank you. Have a great day.